Well, good afternoon, you lovely people. It is Wednesday, and I'm back. I don't know why I did that. I'm back with another video about Liverpool. Hopefully, you will be able to hear me a little bit better today. I am not at Wimbledon, although I am keeping an eye on what's going on. Carlos Alcaraz, my favourite tennis player, about to come on court against one of the British youngsters. But we're here to talk about Liverpool because there's a new man through the door. Not a player, although he was a very good player back in the day. Giovanni van Bronckhorst is the new, not assistant manager, but the new first team coach under Arne Slot and Sip Gulshoff at Liverpool, replacing the very well-liked Johnny Heitinger. There's another couple of important announcements, should we say, in terms of the coaching staff. This morning, Liverpool finally confirmed Van Bronckhorst, which is, I've been meaning to do this video for quite a while. The thumbnail that you'll be able to see, I have had ready for about 3 weeks, actually, but I just thought, let's wait until it's officially announced. Let's speak to as many people as we can and try and give you guys a little bit of an insight into what makes him tick, what makes him special, what are his flaws, what are his weaknesses, what he can bring to Arne Slot, what he can bring to Liverpool, and can he replace Johnny Heitinger? Those are the questions we're going to answer in this video. Obviously, Xavi Valero is returning to Liverpool as the new head of first team goalkeeper coaching. That's his official role. And it says moving back to Merseyside after spending the past 7 years with West Ham United. He was with Liverpool, of course, under Rafael Benitez, and then went with him to Inter, Chelsea, Napoli, Real Madrid, and maybe someone else as well. But he's been at West Ham for a while. He's got a good CV. Don't know too much about him, to be honest. Maybe that can be another video. But Claudio Taffarel is leaving. Fabian Otter is leaving, which Otter especially came as a bit of a surprise because he only signed last year. But I think that at the time when he was announced, it was expected that would only be a short-term thing. Obviously, he came from the United States. Taffarel, I never know actually how to pronounce his name, but Taffarel will be a big miss, not least for Alisson, because the two of them are always together. After games, you'll see him walking out of the stadium together. Seems a big influence on the dressing room, but he is getting older, and you see him after the games, and I always say to people that it's mad, didn't it? He won the World Cup with Brazil in, what was it, 1994, I want to say. Not sure about that, but he doesn't look like former World Cup winner, with the greatest respect to him, but what a career he's had, and wish him all the best. But before we get into Van Bronckhorst as well, I was just going to touch on Jarell Quansah, because it's been confirmed this morning that his move to Bayer Leverkusen is complete. £30 million plus £5 million in achievable add-ons and a buyback clause, which is worth slightly more than that. But Liverpool basically, if they decide in 2 seasons' time, 3 seasons' time, that they want Kwanzaa back, then they can buy him for what will be more than they've let him go for, but will still represent good business for Liverpool. And I think that's a very wise decision to insert that clause. It's the sort of clause they'll be looking to do with Harvey Elliott if they sell him this summer. And it's a sort of clause that a lot of clubs are looking to do in this day and age. But I did have a trawl through the archives, and I can't really recall many times when a buyback clause has actually been activated, or certainly not activated to success. Now, one of I saw an article from One Football, and they suggested Juninho, the former Middlesbrough player. What a player he was, by the way. But as far as I'm aware, they just sold him, and then he just came back. There wasn't a buyback clause. Another one suggested Casemiro to Porto, but again, not really sure if that's true. The only one that I could see that actually was a buyback clause was Angelino when he left Man City. I think that they did like some mad thing where they sold him for like 5 million, bought him back for 5 million, then sold him a year later for 25 million or something stupid like that. I always remember Angelino playing. I think it was against Liverpool actually, and one of my mates who's a United fan texted me saying, "Who's this Make-A-Wish kid that's been let on the pitch for City?" But anyway, we're not here to talk about Angelino. Just here to talk about buyback clauses. Good bit of business for Liverpool. Kwanzaa going. That takes the money recouped this summer even higher, doubles it. Kelleher, Trent, Nat Phillips, I suppose, Kwanzaa now, and then maybe Elliott, Nunes, Chiesa, a couple of others to follow, Simicast, Doak. Potentials, Chiesa potential as well, as I mentioned, Tyler Morton, a probable exit. So they're going to get a lot of money from exits this summer. But the bulk of the video, we're going to talk about Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And I suppose if I was writing an article, the headline on this piece would be something along the lines of Liverpool was the worst thing that ever happened to Van Bronckhorst in his managerial career. Because I spoke to some guy, Joshua Barry from the Rangers Review podcast, and I also spoke to a guy who works for my paper who is based up in Scotland, covers Rangers, covers Celtic as well, and he was saying that, was it 7-1 that Van Bronckhorst was in charge for, was the worst possible thing that could happen to him. But now Liverpool, of course, could be the best thing that happened to him. That season, Rangers were obviously in the Champions League, but his assistant at the time, Dave Voss, has sort of said in hindsight that getting into the Champions League was a bad thing for Rangers because they weren't ready for it and it just set them back. But what Van Bronckhorst did do at Rangers was get them to a Europa League final. But the problem was all of his eggs sort of went into that basket. He didn't win the Scottish Premiership. He was coming in on the back of Steven Gerrard winning the Premiership. He had Steven Gerrard's squad, and he never really won over the fans there. But what Josh Barry sort of said to me was, it was just the wrong place at the wrong time. There was nothing wrong with Van Bronckhorst. In a couple of wins different, he would have been remembered as an absolute legend at Ibrox. But it's similar stories across the board for his managerial career. And what I would say is a lot of people are sort of outlining his faults to me in terms of their, actually being a manager, picking the teams and motivating the teams, doing the team talks, talking in the press, stuff like that, dealing with transfers. A lot of people have said he's not good at any of that. And the only thing I'm thinking is, well, he's not going to have to do any of that at Liverpool, so he can focus on what he is good at. And what a lot of people say, players who have played under him, people who have been close to the situation at his former clubs. He's also obviously been at Feyenoord. He's been at Besiktas as well. Most people are sort of saying he's a great coach. He's a people person, and he basically is brilliant to have in charge. And I just think that's probably what got him this job under Arne Slot, because he won't have to do any of the stuff that people have said he's not good at. And that is what Josh from Rangers Review said to me. He said everything bad said about him he won't have to do. And the same, spoke to someone at Feyenoord, and he said he's very much a people person, from the staff to the players. No one was complaining about him, whether they were in the team or not, which isn't always the case. He's very genuine, easy to get along with, but he commanded the respect that a coach needs, and he knew how to work in terms of the personality. The different personalities in the group, basically. So, basically, I think that bodes well for him at Liverpool. He's obviously the same age, sort of, as Arne Slot. He's got a great footballing career behind him in terms of his playing days. Now, I didn't want to touch too much on his playing days because I'm a believer that being a good player doesn't necessarily mean you're a good coach or manager. I always think of that Arrigo Sacchi quote where he says something along the lines of, you don't need to have been a good horse to be a good jockey. And I agree. So I don't think we need to go over his playing career too much. But what it is worth saying about that is what a career he had. And it's a sort of career that commands respect. He's obviously Dutch, so he'll get on well with Slot and Hulshoff. But also the likes of Ryan Gravenberch could only go from strength to strength under him. Obviously, Gravenberch has been absolutely brilliant so far since Slot came in. But he's still young, and there is still improvement that he can find, And plenty of other players will feel the same. They'll look up to a player like Van Bronckhorst. He's of that era that when they were growing up, they would have watched him play in World Cups, in Euros, in the Champions League, or when he had his spell in this country as well, or maybe he was playing in their country back in the day. But he seems a good guy, and that's the best thing you can say about him from the people I've spoke to in Holland or in Scotland. The main thing that people circle back to, he just seems genuine. He seems to command respect in the rooms, and that is what you want from a third in command coach, someone who's going to take control of some training sessions, but he's also going to work well on the analysis. And the makeup of Slot's squad is, when we were speaking to players throughout last season, a lot of them, or especially at the start of last season, a lot of them sort of said it's been so different to Klopp in terms of the level of detail that he goes into, the meetings, whereas Klopp would probably only do a meeting on match day -1, as they call it, around the game. Slot would do meetings every day. Team meetings, there'd be individual meetings. Each player at Liverpool has their own mentor. So, for example, Gravenberch did an awful lot of work with Heitinga. Konate the same. There's loads of players like that. But every player has their own mentor. So they will have weekly one-to-one sessions. And one of Slot's biggest things is he will always find something that can be improved. Maybe it's a bit like, what is it they say at school, like a shit sandwich. You did this well, that was awful, but you did that well. Maybe they're a bit like that. I don't know. I'd love to be in one of them meetings, but Slot isn't afraid of going up to Mo Salah and saying, what's this all about? You need to improve. And I think Van Bronckhorst on a team will do similar. Now, it must be said that Heitinga is going to be a very big miss to Liverpool because he came in last summer, didn't have a massive reputation in the coaching sphere, did that interim spell at Ajax, had a good stint under David Moyes at West Ham, and I've spoke to David Moyes about him, and he loved him at West Ham, said he was going right to the top, and he's left Liverpool now for the permanent job at Ajax. But you speak to any players last season, Conor Bradley was saying how he's opened his eyes to certain things, and a lot of the players sort of said Johnny Heitinga, absolutely amazing. When he left, you see Andy Robertson putting Instagram stories about him, Instagram posts saying how much he's going to be missed. And a lot of the players will miss him. So Van Bronckhorst has big shoes to fill. But from the people I've spoken to, I think he can. I think he can fill them. Arne Slot, from what I understand, wants a bit of something new to freshen up the coaching team. And he's got that with his new goalkeeping coach. And he's got that with Van Bronckhorst, who's got a good reputation. He's got a way of calming down players, and he knows how to talk to players. And one of the other things that the guy in finals said to me was he's got a really, really good eye for detail. I genuinely thought that thing there was Barry Backseat's head for a second. This thing here. That genuinely petrified me for a second. But yeah, to conclude, everything bad that anyone said to me about Giovanni van Bronckhorst, he won't have to do. So I think that hopefully offers a little bit of an insight into the man. Obviously a great player. He'll command respect in the dressing room. He's got an eye for detail. And I think it's going to be a really exciting appointment for Slot to see someone that's so worldwide renowned. That's not a phrase, is it? But you know what I mean. Someone who everyone knows. It's going to be exciting for Slot. It's going to be something different for Slot. And I think after you win a title, you need something different, or ideas go stale, the players get bored. And that's just how it happens. But yeah, I think this is a really good appointment for Liverpool. Sip Kulshoff plays a massive role as well. I think he's often under talked about, not talked about enough, maybe because Heitinga is that former player, people know him. Slot's obviously fronting it up. But Sip Kulshoff deserves credit as well. He's been with Slot the whole way pretty much, and he's, what someone described him to me as was he's just an extension of Arne. So let's see how Van Bronckhorst settles in. But it'd be interesting to watch. I'll be on the tour Wednesday in 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll be at open training, and I will get as many videos as I can, put them on here, and we'll have a look how Liverpool are setting up in training, how Van Bronckhorst is settling in, how they're all getting their methods across, how much they're changing, if they're changing anything at all it'll all be on this channel. So I'll be back with another video shortly. Plenty of videos throughout the summer. We've still got over a month until Liverpool play a competitive match of football. So if you've got any ideas for a video, let me know below and we'll do it. But have a good day all, and we'll speak again soon.